Hi, this is Erica DELSIGNORE. I am the founder of Daily Lead Campaign, where we bring you leads every single day through video marketing and through social media lead generation, whether that be through ads or blogging or anything else that we have up our sleeves. And today you're watching my Great Minds, Great Marketing interview series, where I interview fantastic minds from around the world that are entrepreneurs, that are growing their business through cutting-edge marketing techniques. And today we have John Racine available. He is from Empowered Marketing, and John and I have known each other for a few years. He is, he's in all the conferences that have to do with business growth, and he's really interested in that. He has an incredible resume himself. So we'll be talking about his outsourced HR solutions. Really why you should do it, how it can save you a lot of money, and even give you a much greater profit in the long run. Because we all know that hiring the right person is very profitable, but hiring the wrong person can be devastating and even end a business. So, John, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. It's great that you were able to take the time to share your wonderful information with my audience.
Thank you, Erica. I'm very excited and honored to be here. We've known each other for a little while now, so it's kind of like we're catching up, and I'm really excited to share today.
Absolutely. So first, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Absolutely. So my expertise lies in human resources. So I created my company Empowered Marketing Solutions a few years ago inside of the internet marketing space, which is a highly competitive niche, and it's a very, very small niche, and it can be difficult to get ahead in. So it was typically the make money online niche. And after a little while, I decided, my expertise lies in human resources. That's what I've done for a majority of my career outside of a little bit in operations. Why don't I go after that niche and go after small businesses, startups like myself, who maybe don't have the funding or the need for a full-time HR person, but could utilize my experience and expertise to help them grow their businesses. And it really dawned on me that throughout my career, I have helped companies make money from my role in HR. So what a great way to kind of position it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And speaking of that, how did you get into this? Let's talk about some of those jobs that you've had, really interesting companies. In fact, I'm heading to Orlando today to go to a conference, but I'll also be stopping by one of those fantastic companies that you work for.
Yeah, I'm jealous. So my HR career actually started in college, believe it or not. So when I was in school, I went to Johnson & Wales University. I was a teaching assistant my junior year and a teaching fellow my senior year. So that was kind of where the HR role started. When I left there, I was recruited by Walt Disney World, which was my first job out of college. And truth be told, I geared my entire college career to being hired by Disney. I went and looked at what schools they recruit from, what programs they're looking at, and I really kind of geared that to go work at Disney. So I went to culinary school and learned how to cook and be a hotel restaurant manager.
Wow.
Then I went to work for Disney World, and the training piece always kind of followed me around. When I was at Disney, I helped create what we called the Foods Training Center for the Magic Kingdom, and that really began the HR career there, and it was always very heavily on the training side. So I worked for Disney doing some training. I left Disney, went to work for Houlihan's Restaurant Group in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I got my first taste of hiring and recruiting. So I had to do a lot of hiring for what we call the front of the house in hospitality. So your servers, your bartenders, your bus people. Don't call them bus boys anymore. So really did that, and then training followed that piece. And after I worked for Houlihan's for a little while, I went to work in the nonprofit world at the Boy Scouts of America, again responsible for training, and ultimately ended up where I got most of my HR experience with a rent-to-own company called Aaron Sales and Lease Ownership, and I was a corporate trainer for them, and that was where I really started to put together the pieces of being profitable in HR, because in my role as a trainer, I actually designed programs to help stores collect the product back from people that didn't want to pay it anymore. So I worked with them for about 7 years, and then moved out to California, got back into hospitality, and worked in hotels. and did full service human resources from there. So recruiting, hiring, employee relations, benefits, terminations, disciplinary actions, the whole gamut.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, I love what you do. I think that HR is extremely important. If you have that much corporate experience, I'm sure that helping small businesses that don't have an HR department is going to be a breeze for you. So that's phenomenal. I want to talk a little bit about your business that you've had so far. I know that you've made changes over the years. You've had corporate jobs, all of that. Now you're starting. You're not starting right now, but when you started this business, I'm sure that there were lots of different challenges that you might have had. Is there any challenge that the audience today might be able to learn from, and even if it wasn't something that you could overcome, like I said, it might just be a lesson learned situation?
For me, I think the biggest lesson I've learned is you've got to get into action. The Rolling Stone gathers no moss type thing. You've
Yes.
really got to take action. And I saw this great video by Steve Harvey, who is on the Family Feud, and he talks about leaping and taking the jump in everything in life. And that's kind of what I took to heart when I decided to start my business. It's like I can't live in fear or wonder about doing it. I just have to get out there and do it. And I think the big lesson I learned was I wished I had done it sooner, but I don't regret doing it. But really just taking action, setting on a path and going forward with it. And that is by far the biggest lesson that I've learned. Now, yes, there have definitely been challenges over time, from what am I going to offer as a product or a service? How am I going to market it? How do I provide that service and that product? But the biggest thing is getting over the fear and the indecisiveness and actually taking action and moving forward.
Yeah, no, that is so true. So I love that saying. The rock that is moving it grows no moss. However it goes, I think that's fantastic. I heard another one that was similar to that, was that action kills fear. And so, another good one, massive action kills fear. So as long as you are out there doing things, I'm not saying go do a lot of the wrong things, but as long as you're trying new things and tweaking them until they work for you, then you should be in really good shape. So I love that bit of advice. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
So another one is, really, you have been a student of marketing for quite a while. I mean, I've seen you at a lot of these courses, and you just bought another new course that you're enjoying right now, I know, on live events and that sort of thing. So that's fantastic. What would you say, out of all of the marketing techniques that you've used, what combination of marketing techniques work best for you? I know that it can be overwhelming because people are out there just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, but it's nice when you can get something down.
Yeah, there's this theory called reciprocity, where you give something and you get something in return. So I think what's allowed me to be the most successful is sharing what I know freely and willingly to people that want to listen, which is kind of the message to market match that we talk about in marketing as well. But I think by sharing some of what I know and helping somebody, legitimately helping somebody to improve their business, or to improve an employee that doesn't want to change, and doing that freely, willingly, that has really helped, because the reciprocity has come back to me so many more times by me being willing to do that instead of charging right up front.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, hey, look, we've got a great example, the two of us. You had me on your podcast last year, and I believe it was probably the second podcast I ever did. So I really appreciated you sharing, me with your audience. So, today I'm having you back on mine, and, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things that have to do with, what you've been up to. And, I'm super happy to do it because, you're an intelligent guy, and I think that you're going to have a lot of value and you already have had a lot of value for the audience, but also you had that kind of faith in me 9 months ago, and it's been fantastic to be able to bring you on my show and hopefully get some of those good vibes back in your direction. So Absolutely. It is one of the best things to do. Just give, 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 and the universe will give back, right?
It is so true, and then I just see it time and time again. So you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And then that leads into building relationships, which now that we have a relationship, it's easy for one of us to reach out to the other and say, hey, be on this, or can you help me with that? So the reciprocity just continues effortlessly.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Um, excuse me. So I want to talk about the courses that you've been taking because, it's interesting to hear like where people are getting their education. Is there a course that you've taken that you just feel like is sticking out in your mind? It doesn't even have to be the most recent one, but a course or a book that has really helped your business along.
I think the biggest one for me, and it was kind of how you and I met, was with Speaking Empire. And I got into one of their programs. I got my presentation package to sell from webinar or from stage. But I think the more critical piece for me was a training that they call Presentainer, which is how to get up and engage an audience, get them involved in your conversation. And that has helped me in business and so much more outside of business because I have so much more confidence after I've gone through that. It's made some of these challenges so much less so because I have much more confidence. So definitely the Presentainer training from Speaking Empire is the one that definitely stands out in my mind as the one that really got the ball rolling for me.
And if anybody happens to want that particular one, make sure that you mention John's name.
Absolutely, yeah.
A really great commercial you gave them.
Yeah, well, as a client, it's yeah, I definitely get referrals, but I mean, truly, I put this on my most recent podcast. I actually said that I believe everybody has a message that the world needs to hear, and Speaking Empire through that training allowed me to be able to share mine, and I think that it can be of value to everybody that has that message that they want to share, no matter what that message is.
Well, let me just say this. I also went through the program. They wrote a great speech for me. I took their Presentainer course. It was amazing. It really was amazing. I had no idea about all of the little neurolinguistics programming and little gestures and things that you say to get the audience's buy-in. I mean, by the end of the speech, he's got the audience buying in, 30, 40, 50 times. I don't know, however much it is. But all the things that they teach is absolutely, invaluable if you are going to give speeches, even if you're not going to sell anything, but especially if you are going to sell anything from the stage. So, that is definitely a great example because messages aren't going to get out there if they can't be heard, and a lot of times they're not going to be heard if they are not entertaining. So, good, that's great. That is a really good course. Let's see here. So what do you think the next big thing is for your industry?
Wow, right now at the time we're recording this, it's first quarter, actually second quarter of 2017, and we obviously have a new administration in Washington D.C. And whenever there's a new administration in D.C. for human resources, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of upheaval, there's a lot of things that we have to anticipate and prepare for. And I don't know yet that we still know what to prepare for. There's been a lot of discussion about legislation that directly relates to human resources, and that's why I stay in tune with it for my business so that I can share that with clients. If you ask the wrong question, you can get slapped with a lawsuit. If you terminate for the wrong reason, you're going to get hit with an unemployment claim and potentially a lawsuit there. If you are not allowing, a big thing in the industry for human resources now is ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Right.
A lot of people are familiar with FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, but what a lot of business owners, managers, supervisors don't realize is that even absent an FMLA eligibility, so that requires 1 year of tenure in your job, that employee may still be eligible for an ADA leave, and not a lot of businesses realize that. So we don't know what's going to happen with things like that in the new administration. So I still think there's a lot of things up in the air at this point.
That's fantastic to know. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it goes. People think HR, they and they think new administration. They're obviously first thing that comes to mind is healthcare, but you're right. There's a lot of other guidelines that could absolutely change, and if you don't keep up with it, you could really cost you your business if it's a wrong situation. So
Exactly.
that's a really good reminder. I really appreciate that. Now, just to touch a little bit more on the topic of HR, you help businesses outsource their HR. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. What I just decided to do when I veered away from the internet marketing niche was to work with small business owners, people that are growing their business. Maybe they're a small organization and they want to grow and do things the right way, but don't necessarily have the money to pay a full-time HR person. Depending on what part of the country you live in, that's going to cost you anywhere from, I don't know, 35, 40,000 to well over 100,000, depending on the type of business that you're running. And maybe that's something in the early stages, or even in the stage that you're at now, where you don't want to bring in a full-time HR person, but you still need that advice and that guidance and that support. And that's what I do. Everything from helping with interview questions and hiring, to benefits, to legislation like ADA, FMLA, in California, CFRA, a lot of things like that. So that way you have the resource as an affordable option, almost like on an attorney type of level, where you pay when you need it.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Great. So that's good. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the hiring process and some of the things that you help out with that?
Yeah, the biggest thing with hiring, there's a lot of legislation that's led to very different hiring in America today than it was 20, 30 years ago. A lot of people don't realize that there are some questions you cannot ask in an interview, and some people do ask them. Things like, how old are you? For a female, do you plan to get married and get pregnant? I mean, I still hear of those types of questions being asked.
Really?
Yeah, it still happens. Not as often as it used to, but it definitely still happens. And then there's still some other nuances. For example, let's say we're having an interview and you're speaking with an accent. And it's like, oh, that's a beautiful accent. Where are you from? That's an illegal question, because you could be discriminating based on their nationality. So little things like that a lot of people don't realize, even though it might be innocent in the context, it could be construed a completely different way, especially if you don't extend an offer to them.
Absolutely. So the best thing is to just say, and what would you like to talk about?
Well, I think there's a magic on interviewing. I really, truly believe this, and I learned this several years ago. It's situational interviewing. And here's the thing. I could sit and interview you right now and say, hey, Erica, do you enjoy dealing with guests or customers? And you could say, yes, absolutely. Okay, you really haven't told me anything, because you might hate talking to people, and told me yes to get the job. So instead, there's a way to ask that same question where I'm going to get a better result. And the way that you can, in general, word a question is begin it with, tell me about a time, or tell me when, or give me an example of. So when you put those ahead of the questions, tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult customer, tell me what the situation was and how you dealt with it successfully, you're going to get a much better response, because you're forcing the person to go back into their history to bring out that example. And then if you feel that maybe you're getting too much positive, you can ask the same question and maybe you respond with, but maybe you weren't able to help them, so tell me what that was. And then you can kind of balance out that person based on the questions and the responses.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. That's a really good example of what not to do and then how to turn it around and what you can do. And I think it's a great reminder, too, because there's a lot of small businesses out there that don't study up. They've got so many hats that they're wearing. They don't really study up on what questions to ask and what they should be doing to protect themselves when they're hiring people. You wouldn't even think that you'd need to protect yourself before you even hire somebody, but you're absolutely right. You say the wrong thing, or you don't hire them, and then you don't hire them, they can sue you and take your whole business. So I think that is a really great, really great points that you're making. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I believe firmly that the entrepreneur, the business owner, should be doing what they excel at. If they are great at sales, then they should be focusing on sales. If they're great at marketing, they should be focusing on marketing. If they're great at product development, they should be focusing on product development. And focus on that core strength, because that's what's going to grow the business. And then hire out everything else, whether you're hiring an employee to handle customer service or accounting. or an outsourcing. Maybe you're going to hire a virtual assistant to handle your calendar. You bring in somebody like me to handle your human resources. So just focus on what your core competency is, what you're the best at, and grow your business, and then let everybody else that has their expertise deal with those functions that you're not the strongest at.
Absolutely. So one last question before we go. I know that you have an event coming up based around business acceleration, and you have that coming up pretty soon. I do have the link to, both where they can get my book and then also where they can sign up for your event on the Facebook post. I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit about that event, when it is, why you're putting it on, who's it going to help, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. So we're calling it the Business Acceleration Summit, and it's designed for business owners that want to take their business to the next level or up a notch. We're bringing in multiple experts in different areas. So far I've got an accounting person, I've got a human resources person, I've got a public relations person, and a marketing person that are going to come in and talk about different brick and mortar and online businesses and the strategies that can help them grow and take it to the next level. So it's going to be a 2-day event. It'll be a multi-speaker event held in Orlando, Florida. We are waiting to confirm with the hotel. We have our site visit on Saturday, so I think we'll be able to confirm that this weekend. And we're doing it June 17th and 18th, if I remember the dates correctly, in Orlando, Florida, very convenient to Orlando International Airport. So if you're local, you can drive. If you're not, it's a shuttle ride away. And we're really excited about doing this because I wanted to bring this human resource information to people, to small business owners that maybe don't have that expert in-house, and I want to show how human resources can help you profit and not necessarily just save you from money, which is what HR typically does. So I'm going to be doing some entrepreneurial HR type of discussions with people. Obviously, I'm going to do a whole section on recruiting and hiring, including virtual assistants. A lot of solopreneurs and smaller businesses are outsourcing VAs, and there should be a thought process in place and an interview of sorts with your virtual assistant to make sure that you get that right person. And we're bringing in an accountant, certified public accountant, who's going to show people how to keep more of the money that you're making, because it's never about what you make, it's always about what you keep. Public relations person. So a lot of different speakers, really excited about it, and it's at bizexcelsummit.com. You have the address. We had to spell it a little bit differently because Excel with the ACC wasn't available, but it's bizexcel summit.com. Okay,
sounds good. Now we have that link up, and of course this will be a blog that goes out in addition in the next couple of weeks, so we'll have your link there as well. Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic event. I hope that everybody takes advantage of that. And John, I really want to thank you so much for coming on this show today. I'm cutting my interviews a little bit short today because I do have to catch a plane in a few hours, but I believe we got the salient information out of you, and I think that all the points you've made are going to be very helpful and perhaps save somebody's business someday if they were listening in on this conversation that we're having today. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It was my honor and pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you and share a little bit about what I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been Erica DELSIGNORE, the founder of Daily Lead Campaign, interviewing John Racine. Really appreciate having you on today. And please stay tuned for another one of these expert interviews on Great Minds, Great Marketing. We will look forward to seeing you actually in another hour and a half with Susan Pinkerton, and she'll be talking about what she's doing now. She's quite an accomplished woman. And thank you very much. I'll look forward to seeing you guys in just a little while.